Was a town named Kapo. At the center of the town stood a university where people traveled from far and near to study. Many students, especially females, prefer to stay in the hostel due to insecurities outside the school. The female students had a bathroom outside their rooms where they would normally take their baths. The bathroom was shared by all. The bathroom was just a short walk away from their room. Every bathroom had a row of dustbins where the students would dispose their soap ladles, old sponge, and sanitary pads. In front of each room stood baskets where they threw away their day-to-day waste. It was a simple system everyone adhered to. There was a girl named Sophie who often went out to urinate at night when she felt pressed. One night, the air was thick with the scent of rain. Sophie woke up pressed. Rubbing her eyes, she put on her slippers and walked towards the bathroom. The corridor was dimly lighted by a few bulbs casting shadows on the wall. As she approached the bathroom, her eyes caught sight of an old woman at one of the dustbins. Sophie recognized her as one of the cleaners who worked in the hostel. The woman was holding a dim lantern that barely illuminated her wrinkled face. Without thinking much about it, Sophie quietly passed by, thinking perhaps the woman was just doing some late-night cleaning. She went about her business and returned to bed. The following night, Sophie's roommate Aisha needed to relieve herself. As she stepped outside, she saw the same old woman again by the dustbin, picking up trash. This time, it seemed odd to her. Why was the cleaner working at such an unusual hour? Aisha quickly returned to her room and woke her roommate up. Sophie, I just saw that old woman again. You know, the cleaner. She's digging through the dustbin in the middle of the night. She whispered. Her voice was trembling. They were all scared and curious about what the old woman was picking at night that she never picked during the day. After discussing it, they went to sleep that night. But Sophie didn't shake off the strange feeling. She began to pay more attention, watching for the old woman every night. Something about the whole situation didn't sit right with her. A week later, Sophie decided to confront her curiosity. That evening, she woke her bunkmate, a courageous girl named Fatima, and whispered, "Come with me, let's check again if the old woman is out there." When they went out, they saw that old woman again as usual, and they asked her, "Hello ma, what do you always pick up at night from the dustbin?" The woman stood up quickly and said, "No, my children, I'm just a cleaner. I have a goat, so I go around at night to pick up potatoes and yam peels to feed them." They quickly left, and their minds were not settled. A week passed, and throughout that week, Sophie couldn't stop thinking about what the old woman always picked up from the dustbin. One night, when it was drizzling, Sophie went out as usual and saw the old woman picking up pads from the dustbin. Luckily, Sophie had her phone with her, and she quickly took a picture of the woman picking up pads. Sophie raised an alarm and some of the students came out. She told them what she had seen at first. The old woman tried to deny it, saying she hadn't stolen anything, but Sophie already had the photo as a proof. She showed the picture to everyone and the woman stood there shaking and trembling in fear. "What are you doing with our parts?" A student yelled at her with anger. The old woman, now shaking visibly, tried to deny it. "I didn't take anything," she stammered. "I'm just a cleaner." But no one believed her. The photo was an undeniable proof. The students surrounded her, demanding for answer. Someone suggested they lock her up in an empty room until the school authorities could handle the situation in the morning. They found an empty room and secured her inside. Next morning, the hall administrators and the security personnel arrived. The old woman was so frightened. She was brought before them all under intense questioning. She broke down in tears. "Please don't hurt me," she pleaded. The head of the hostel asked her, "What were you doing with the students' parts?" And she said, with fear and trembling, she started confessing, "I used them to take their glory. I take the blood to my altar. Some of them I cause them to fail exams, while some of them I cause them to forget whatever they have read. I also take their destinies and their future." The students stood there in silence and with their faces so pale. No one could believe what they were hearing. Some actually whispered prayers to their gods. The authorities wasted no time. The old woman was expelled from the school premises and handed over to the town local law enforcement. As for the students, the hostel administrators took swift action. A new system was put in place. It was designed in such a way that the students could rinse off their bloods with rushing water from the tap, so they just have to dispose their parts without blood in them into the basket. The story of the old woman spread quickly throughout the university. The entire town of Kapo was buzzing with the shocking news. The students, although still shaking, felt a sense of relief knowing that the threat had been dealt with. But for Sophie, the memory of that night was still lingering in her head. A reminder that sometimes the most unsettled things happen right under your nose, hidden in plain sight.